Welcome back. This is Robin Mines. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the state of the nation. And right now, we want to talk about the men. We're still celebrating International Men's Day. I think from being a man, I think sometimes men don't get celebrated enough. You know, we live in a world where a man is not allowed to express his feelings. We live in a world where a man is not allowed to have emotional outbursts, because it is believed that if you're a man, you're supposed to have the semblance of being strong, have the semblance of being solid, have the semblance of not being shaken at any point in time. But that is not the case, and that is why, if you notice, a lot of men end up taking their own lives. A man is more likely to commit suicide than a woman. So we want to spotlight the emotional pressure men go through. And with me in the studio to discuss International Men's Day, breaking the wall of silence, is a social commentator, Femi Emmanuel. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So when we talk about emotional pressure that men face, what's your interpretation of that?
I am of the opinion that everyone faces emotional pressure, but because men have been traditionally raised not to be vulnerable, or better still, to see vulnerability as weakness, it now tells more on the mental health of most men.
Right.
Inability to show vulnerability without being counted as weakness. So my thoughts about this is, it is how we do it. It is not what you intend to do. It's actually about how you do it. And I hope in the course of our discussion, I'll be able to shed more light on that.
Okay. First of all, can you give us the cultural denotation of what a man should be in the African context?
Great. Before now, you know, men are described based on their physical outlook, their financial prowess, and their strength. That's why back in the days, culturally, they see you as not being man enough if you probably cannot farm, if you probably cannot fish, if you probably cannot, there's this local wrestling, if you cannot participate, and you know, if you don't have muscles. But as time goes by, that mentality remained, but there's a deviation in how men are now being judged. The financial, looking at the physical muscles, that's why you see some people still want to have six packs. Not because they do strenuous thing, but because it's still psychologically work that is fit and strong because he has six packs. Then the farming part, which then used to relate to occupation, now has to do with how much figures you earn. A lot of men have low self-esteem if they are probably broke. Because from time immemorial, your financial status or what you do stands as a definition of who you are. The last part I also talked about is, you know, you now probably showing physical strength. That's why back in those days, they tell, when you're getting married, they tell you you're training her. Men seldom beat whoever they are married to because it's a show of strength. But in the 21st century, while there's still that psychological demand on men, there's a little twist or shift into how authoritative you sound. You hear things like you sound masculine, you sound confident, or you sound feminine. So it's just that it's still the same, but in different perspectives. So the cultural definition of men has really not changed. But as we begin to grow and things begin to evolve, there's been a deviation in how men are being looked at.
Okay. Do you think there's a need to sort of demystify the stereotype? Because if a man, for some reason, sounds feminine, does it make him less of a man?
Those are some of the reasons why we must continue to advocate, we must continue to enlighten men that, one, you are not defined by what you have, you are defined by who you are. Your biological definition, provided you have everything that makes you a man, what your voice sounds like, what your muscles looks like, does not change any of that. That's number one. Another thing we're also trying to reorientate men about is that, see, financial status does not equate who you are, because you can actually be rich in stocks and shares and be zero on cash. So that you do not have access to cash at that moment should not define how you see yourself or how you exhibit your esteem. You shouldn't have so low self-esteem. So these are some of the things we're trying to advocate. Let me also add my voice to this, that, you know, men, because of all of this mentality, end up choosing how to show vulnerability, and that's where the issue is. Men mostly take to drinking.
Right.
Some take to womanizing. Some take to violence. Some take to addiction of different kinds, just to disguise insecurity. But I'm out here to let men know that, see, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. But you cannot define for yourself how you choose to show your vulnerability. Maybe with time I can now talk about how to show that.
So again, I understand where you're coming from, but sometimes people might interpret it that it's easier said than done. A lot of men are dying in silence.
True.
You know, how do you think these men should be able to open up? Like, what do you think can help them open up better? Because, it's hard for a man to open up.
True. I agree
Very
with you.
hard.
I agree with you.
So how can we as men start learning how to really break the wall of silence and open up?
Great question. I'm talking from a point of experience. I've been high up there and something happened and it went down flat. If I didn't have a way to push through, then probably, because I was obviously suicidal. So I want to share from personal experience so that men can understand how to pull through this. Number one is that now that things are good for you, or things are a little bit better for you, is the time to choose your friends. We choose our friends for the wrong reasons. We choose our friends, because we're colleagues, because we're seen in the religious place. If you choose your friends for the sake of vulnerability, it has to do with how much common sense you guys can always talk about, how much things you guys can always talk about without you hitting that vulnerability spot yet. So what I mean is that, who are your class of friends and why do you choose your friends? Because it will end up determining how you pull through later in life. That's number one. Number two thing, again, I like to talk to men about as far as pulling through is that, see, go into journaling. You may not like to cry or speak out, but if you write it down, what you have done is expressing, is the same thing. It's the same thing as expressing yourself. Sometimes it could be in your bathroom that you have to probably speak some of these things out if you stay alone. But if you can, please, journaling is a good way to, you will feel lighter. Because some don't want to talk to someone else because they don't want to be judged. But journaling is a good way to go about it. Now, another thing I always advise is there are songs that are situational. Enough of songs because you just want to shake your head. There are songs that speak sense. That for those, how much of those songs do you have down in your playlist? Listening to those songs it equates to listening to a friend that can talk to you. In fact, it can help you even cry. The music is so loud. And you know, when you are happy, you enjoy the music. When you are down, you understand the lyrics. So in your point of vulnerability, how much of such songs that are inspirational, that can actually speak to your situation, do you have in your playlist? I do that, and it helps a lot. It helps a whole lot. Another thing I want to advise men, again, is look out for someone that can mentor you.
Right.
Mentorship is really very important. But when you look for a mentor, you are not looking for a ladder out of financial misfortune. That's the problem why many people don't want to mentor others. If your reasons for mentorship is financial, then define it from the beginning. The person may not be willing to help and you can understand. But when it's about someone that has gone through what you are probably passing through and that can help you to help skip certain steps of depression, then you would have really exposed yourself to the best way to come out of it. So have a mentor, otherwise you will be facing tormentors.
I like how you put that. Every man was once a boy. And society has sort of put definitions and limits to what a man should be. And you see that these boys grew up with those limits. What advice do you think men can give to young boys? You know, how do you think parenting also can be improved, especially when it comes to the boy child?
Great question, and I have two great sons, and I'll just share from how I train my sons. Because growing up, even your parents want to shout you down that you can't be crying like your sister. They say such light words without knowing how those words actually mean. So I allow my son to sit down and talk to me. When he's emotional, the right thing I do is I let him sit down. I say, sit. Once he's calm, hold on, you will talk to me. Women, because you grow around women, girls, you want to also do that outburst. But as you now grow, you now begin to find out that you can't do that. And it now cages you. Right. But once you grow with someone that helps you to sit down, calm down, then let you express yourself in a more logical way. You get used to it as you grow. So it's easier for my son to say things like, Daddy, I'm going to talk to you in 5 minutes. I'm still very angry. And it may look like it's not something he should say, but I appreciate it that he understands that he's a work in progress. So once he says things like that, I say, oh, calm down. I need you to be able to express yourself. Then it takes time. That's number one. Number two thing I want to talk about fathers raising their sons is that take time to help them develop their logical reasoning. You know, you don't just tell them what to do. Give them options and let each of those options have repercussions. Oh, choose this or choose this. If you choose this, you may have this, you may not have this. If you choose, so it helps them to understand that there are consequences for actions, not that they run into a problem and they're not strong enough to overcome the problem because they weren't expecting any outcome or expecting any consequence. You must train your sons to understand that everything you do, every decision you make has consequences. Then if you think deeply before taking such steps, then you may avoid the bitter consequences because you already look through all of the outcomes before making a step. So it is more about working on their logical reasoning. Right. You do it by helping them make mistakes that are controlled, then help them understand the repercussions, help them come out of it. You know, with time, they begin to develop that mind and they are able to actually confront whatever thing that comes across them.
All right. Thank you so very much, Femi. Sadly, we're out of time. I know there's so much that we still need to unpack, but to every man out there, just know that it's okay to cry. It is okay to be vulnerable. Please find a community, if possible, find a community of brothers that can also ensure support. Rubbing Mind will continue after this break. Stay with us.